You ever feel like your grocery bill is just on a wild ride? One month, tomatoes are totally affordable, and the next, their prices have just shot through the roof. Well, today, we're going to dive deep into this puzzle of India's food prices. We're going to use some really fascinating research to figure out what's really happening between the farm and your kitchen. Let's follow the journey of our food to see where the problem and the solution really is. Yeah, it's a question a lot of us ask ourselves, right? You see the headlines about inflation, sure, but the real story, the one you feel, is in the price of your everyday essentials. So why is there so much volatility? Why do the prices of things like onions and tomatoes swing so wildly? Well, the answer is a lot more complex and way more interesting than you might think. Now, here's the thing that's kind of crazy. On one hand, India is a true agricultural giant. I mean, we're talking the world's #1 producer of milk, and #2 for staples you and I buy all the time, like tomatoes, onions, and potatoes. But then there's the other side of the coin. We see farmers who are sometimes forced to sell their crops at a loss, while at the same time, we as consumers are stuck paying these shockingly high prices. So what on earth is happening in the middle? To really crack this puzzle, we have to follow the food. We need to trace its journey all the way from the farm to our plate. This journey has a name. It's called a value chain. And what we're about to see is a tale of two very, very different chains. So first things first, let's get this key term straight. What even is a value chain? Well, it's basically every single step in the process. It's the farmer who grows the crop, the person who transports it, the place that processes or stores it, the wholesaler, the retailer, literally everyone who handles the food before it ends up with you. So this is what a typical path looks like. It starts with a farmer, goes through a bunch of middlemen, and eventually gets to us. But the really important questions here are, how many steps are in this journey, and how efficient is it? The answers to those two questions, well, they explain everything. And this right here is where it gets really fascinating. We're going to put two household staples head-to-head, milk and tomatoes. You wouldn't think it, but their journeys from the producer to your home are worlds apart. And that difference explains almost everything about this whole price puzzle. All right, let's follow the money. When you go out and buy a liter of milk or a kilo of tomatoes, who gets the biggest slice of your cash? The answer tells us a whole lot about how efficient or inefficient the system really is. First up, milk. Now, the dairy value chain, especially the one that's been built by cooperatives, is just incredibly well organized. Milk is collected from millions of small farmers, it's taken to chilling centers, and then sent to processing plants. It's a short, super streamlined path with very few middlemen. And get this, here's the direct result of all that efficiency. The dairy farmer gets around 70% of the price you pay for milk. A massive 70 paisa out of every single rupee goes straight back to the producer. That right there is a clear sign of a really healthy value chain. Okay, so that's milk. Now let's totally switch gears and look at the journey for some of our most common vegetables. The picture here, it couldn't be more different. The vegetable value chain is long and it's super fragmented. You've often got multiple traders and intermediaries standing between the farmer and the market. And crucially, there's a huge lack of infrastructure, especially things like cold storage. For stuff that can spoil, that's a massive problem. And here's the shocking result of all that. The vegetable farmer, they get only about a third of what you, the consumer, end up paying. That's right, just 33%. So think about that. 2/3 of the final price is just getting eaten up by this long chain of middlemen and all the losses that happen along the way. The research we looked at puts it very bluntly. This huge gap shows a system that is just deeply inefficient. It hurts the farmers, who get a tiny, tiny share, and it hurts us, the consumers, because we end up paying these inflated prices. It's a system where pretty much nobody wins. But wait, it's not just about the number of middlemen. There's another huge factor at play here, this combination of seasonality and a lack of storage. Because we can't really store a lot of these vegetables effectively, we are completely at the mercy of the harvest cycle. Just take a look at potatoes, for example. During the big harvest season, around February and March, there's a ton of them, and prices are low. But then, you fast forward to the lean season, around October and November, right before the next big harvest, all of a sudden, stocks are low and prices predictably just shoot up. This cycle happens year after year after year. Okay, so we've seen the problem pretty clearly. These fragmented, inefficient value chains create all this volatility. But the good news is the research also points to some very clear solutions for building a better, more stable system for everyone. The solutions can really be boiled down to three simple but powerful strategies. We need to build, we need to connect, and we need to empower. First up, build. This is all about the physical stuff, the infrastructure. We need more cold storage facilities to cut down on how much food spoils and gets wasted. We need more processing units that can turn a surplus of tomatoes into something like puree, which acts as a buffer against those price shocks. And of course, better transport to reduce all the losses that happen on the journey. Second, connect. This is about making our markets smarter. Digital platforms like the National Agriculture Market, or eNAM, create an online trading space that can help farmers find the absolute best prices all over the country. That, plus better quality grading and helping food processors buy straight from farmers, helps to cut out a lot of those unnecessary middlemen. And finally, this might just be the most important one, empower. This means giving farmers more power by helping them form collectives, which are known as FPOs, or farmer producer organizations. Just think of it like trying to create an AML for vegetables, a cooperative that gives small farmers real collective bargaining power. It also means using technology like traceability platforms to guarantee quality and give them access to bigger and better markets. So, after looking at all of this, what's the big takeaway here? The path forward isn't some single magic bullet. It's really about learning from what actually works, like we see in the dairy sector, and then applying those same lessons to other parts of our food system. Because ultimately, this isn't just an economics problem. The real goal here is to build a food system that works for absolutely everyone. A system that's stable and resilient, yes, but also one that's fair to both the farmer who works tirelessly to grow our food and to you, the consumer, who puts it on your family's table. Now that's the puzzle that's really worth solving.